firing. Intercepted. Picked up by Cooper DeJean. Gets a block. DeJean is in. Touchdown. Wow.
Cooper DeJean, the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl 59 goes to the city of Philadelphia after an absolute beatdown in Super Bowl 59. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Reaction Monday. How about an Overreaction Monday? We're doing that at 5 p.m. today. Overreaction Monday. Cannot wait to hear yours. But Overreaction Monday begins now. The Super Bowl last night. Diesel, you and I talked about it all week long. For 2 weeks, we talked about it. And everyone, I believe for the most part, believed that this would be a close game. And a close game it was not. The Philadelphia Eagles came to play last night and absolutely rolled the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, when you don't have the refs cheating for you as well, you know, it makes it that much more difficult to operate. You know, when you don't get that extra little bit of help, it just puts everything off schedule.
I thought it was going to change to that first play, that first drive. I was like, oh god.
Now, when you start making early mistakes and you dig yourself in a hole, and it wasn't just like an early mistake. It was an early interception, and then it was another interception, and then it was another interception. And like you can't come from behind when you're in that situation. I mean, the Chiefs, they put up 16 points in the fourth quarter, but it was over. It doesn't really matter that they put up. It might as well have finished 40-6.
You know what? You're right. The final score was not indicative of just how bad it was because it was a blowout. It was catastrophic. It was never close. The Chiefs played good at the very end, but it didn't matter. That was garbage time, right? So to start this show today, that's where we're going. I want to hear from you, Tolos. 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-663. Phone lines are already booming. Billy Horn starting us off in just a few moments. But, Diesel, you're right. It was not close. Driving into work today, have thought about and was thinking about the two losses that Patrick Mahomes has in the Super Bowl. You and I talked about it last week, previewing the Super Bowl, right? This was his fifth time playing the game. Diesel, thinking back, as I was doing today driving in, thinking back on Mahomes' two Super Bowl losses, do you know what goes through my head when I think about those losses? Is Mahomes absolutely running for dear life to Tampa Bay and last night to Philadelphia. That was the story of the game. Yeah, Cooper DeJean was incredible. Yeah, Jalen Hurts was incredible. But Sweat and those guys on the defensive line for Philadelphia controlled the game from start to finish. Have you ever seen a defensive performance? I don't think anybody saw that coming, just how dominant Philadelphia was on defense.
Well, it begs the question, Patrick Mahomes is great at escaping and then creating in the chaos. The problem was his typical safety valve, Travis Kelce, basically didn't even get off the bus. He wasn't there. So he wasn't able to do the things that he always does to be successful. The Philadelphia Eagles took that away from him, took that away from Travis Kelce. And I hear that Taylor Swift dumped him because she don't want no scrubs.
You are terrible.
She got booed
she did
when they put her on the big screen.
She got booed.
And I've seen the internet losing their minds over it. She donates so much money to this and that. She sold out 3 straight shows at this venue last month. Yeah. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. We're not pop culture, but a ton to get to, man. I have a lot of thoughts. Diesel does as well. We want to hear your reactions, though. The text line starting to get going as well. Again, text the number, call the number, 844-326-3663. Let's go right to the phones where Billy Horn wants to react to last night's game. What's up, Billy?
How you doing, boys? All I got to say is go Birds. Cole, that's how you put together a winning football team to win the Super Bowl. That's what you do. Howie Roseman has got to be executive of the year.
Yeah.
If not executive of the decade, putting this together over the last couple of years. And do you think we'll get the talking heads on ESPN to stop calling Jalen Hurts a half-good quarterback? Did he win some respect in yesterday's game? I think so. But will they give it to him? I don't know.
What's your name?
But the Birds did pull it out. They did dominate. And, yes, that defense by Vic Fangio was on point. Four-man rush. And once you had the four controlling the offensive line of KC, it was on.
Yeah.
Play that cover, pick him off, take it to the house. It was a great game. Eagles fan all the way. Y'all have a great day, and we'll hear what everybody else has got to say.
Thanks, Billy.
Appreciate you, Billy.
Diesel.
When you don't let your right guard get half a step on every snap, that's certainly consequential.
It's interesting what Billy brought up with Jalen Hurts. And we spent a lot of time, you and I, Rob Brown Show, talking heads across the nation. Everybody talks about Mahomes, right? I think Billy Horn brings up a very interesting point because, in my mind, absolutely, Jalen Hurts earned the respect, right? 2 years ago, he outplayed Mahomes. But the team, Philadelphia, lost 2 years ago. Diesel, if it's as simple as this for me, if Jalen Hurts isn't getting that respect now, somebody's pushing a narrative. Somebody has something against him. He played incredible last night. 70-plus yards on the ground?
Did he really outplay him, though?
Who?
I mean, if you strictly look at statistics
Mahomes,
here, you look at statistics,
that's
Patrick Mahomes,
time.
30 more yards, one more touchdown, also one. I'm kidding. I'm only kidding.
A lot of that was garbage. He's so Jalen Hurts was so good. He was so good, and I'll tell you what, man, it makes a team so much more dynamic when you have a guy that's as selfless as Jalen Hurts. Man, like, I'm not kidding. He is so selfless in the way he plays. I think that there are so many quarterbacks across the league that could kind of mirror his personality, his humbleness, Diesel, the way he plays. He was a threat with his arm. He was a threat with his legs. Vic Fangio last night called an incredible game for Philadelphia defensively. Kellen Moore, who is going to be the Saints coach, we are told, was also incredible last night. But I don't know if anyone, Diesel, expected the four down linemen for Philadelphia to get as much pressure without blitzing. Did you see that? Did you see where they said that there were no blitzes in the entirety of the game last night? They didn't blitz, Diesel. They didn't blitz you. They still got home.
It's smart because, we were saying Mahomes creates with his legs when plays break down. If plays never break down, they have to become designed runs. And if you can use, no blitzes and you're not over pursuing on the quarterback, getting in the backfield on Mahomes' left so that he can roll to his right or vice versa, then, you can keep everything right in front of you and essentially neutralize Patrick Mahomes. This should now be a blueprint on exactly how to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Do not blitz ever. Stay back in coverage, and you have a chance to beat Patrick Mahomes.
According to Next Gen Stats, the Eagles did not blitz once across 42 dropbacks in Super Bowl 59, just the fourth defense, Diesel, to not blitz in a game since the Next Gen Stats era. Relying on their front four, the Eagles generated 16 pressures and sacked Mahomes 6 times, his most in a game in his career. The Eagles played zone coverage on all but 2 dropbacks, specifically cover 4, 59% of the time, the third highest rate by a defense in a game since 2018. And Vic Fangio's defense last night, Diesel, held Mahomes to his second worst performance by EPA in a game in his career.
Could you imagine being a fly in that room with Nick Sirianni, Vic Fangio, and Vic says, you know what we're going to do, Nick? We're not going to blitz.
Yeah.
Not once. He goes, hear me out. Let me explain. And Nick Sirianni's probably like, what are you doing? What do you mean we're not going to blitz Patrick Mahomes? We have to.
But they set the tone, man. Like, when the moment you turn that game on last night, Philadelphia's front four, Diesel, just set the tone for the whole night. And it just goes to show how important those guys at that position are, right? I mean, when you can not blitz and be as physically dominating as Philadelphia was last night, you're the tone setter. You're the guys that are going to dictate. Didn't we talked about that last week? You and I did. Who's going to dictate the flow of this game, right? It was Philadelphia's front four. They were dominant. Josh Sweat was so good last night, like 2 sacks in the first quarter of the game. So I want to continue to hear from you, Tolos, as well. Dewey is up next on the phone lines. What's up, Dewey?
Yes, that game last night was a complete travesty. Kansas City, they didn't show up. They thought they went in there thinking the game was just going to be theirs. They whooped up on Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce had his head in his rear end about Taylor Swift that he couldn't even play. And good for him. I hope he goes away. And they booed Taylor Swift. That was good. That's the best part of the game. But that whole game was a travesty. The commercials sucked. It was just. They didn't come to play. The Eagles showed up, and they put the whooping on them, and that's it.
But you know what, Dewey? You watched, and you're going to watch again next year.
I turned it off, actually, when it was 40-0.
So you watched.
Dewey, what did you have to eat during the Super Bowl? Was it Dino Nuggets or Cajun Dino Nuggets?
Ooh, they have Cajun?
I had meatloaf, Dino Nuggets, and liver.
Oh, my God. Thanks, Dewey.
Thank you, Dewey.
I didn't know they had Cajun Dino Nugget. That's the first. That's the first for me.
To your point there about earlier about Jalen Hurts, I'm just so impressed with this guy and his ability to catch all the heat that he caught from a bad season last year, which, think about it, was the exact same heat he was catching when he was at Alabama and he got benched for Tua.
Yeah.
And he goes off to Oklahoma, both of them end up in the NFL. And who's getting the last laugh? Jalen Hurts is out there winning Super Bowl titles. Tua can't keep his eggs from getting scrambled.
How are you not impressed with that? Like, if you're a casual football fan, to your point about Jalen Hurts, man, he's so even kill. He's such a great leader. He's a great football player. Last night, 17 of 22, 221, 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 pick. He was sacked twice. QBR of 75.4. Diesel, I'll tell you what, I think Philadelphia figured out that the quarterback position in the NFL doesn't have to be 39 of 45, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to try to throw the football 35, 40 times a game. Saquon Barkley was a non-factor for the most part last night.
Tell me about it. I had him in like 3 of my picks. I got burned. I lost every single one of my picks. Now, part of it, and I don't want to go off a tangent too far. Part of it is because the score got out of hand, and then you change the way you play when the score gets out of hand.
25 carries, Diesel, last night for Saquon. Only 57 yards. Only 57 yards, 2.3 per touch, which is not like Saquon, right? But to me, Diesel, what's so impressive, and we're going to get back to the phones in a second, what's so impressive about Philly's win is that they scored 40.
Yeah.
And Saquon had 0.
How much more of an ass whooping would that have been if Saquon was also going off in that game? If Saquon had a 100-yard game or more, I mean, that game might have been 55-60 to nothing.
I texted somebody that in a group text last night. I said, just imagine if Saquon got going. Just imagine.
I was hoping in that second half. I was like, come on, dude, get your numbers.
Devontae Smith was incredible, 4 for 69, a touchdown. A.J. Brown, Jahan Dotson. I thought their play calling was super aggressive at times where it needed to be. I mean, that 1 touchdown pass, Diesel, in the third quarter, the dagger, Jalen Hurts, the play calling from Kellen Moore, they just showed up, man. And you can say it was a boring Super Bowl. You can say it wasn't worth watching. But to me, it was so impressive in the way Philadelphia got off the bus.
Well, the scary thing about that is there's a very good chance that guy now ends up in the Carolina Panthers division. And you're going to have to face him twice a year.
Yeah.
Oh, you're trying to come back up in the world, and you let him go get Kellen Moore.
Back to the phone lines, 844-326-3663. Kev is up next. What's up, Kev?
What's up, fellas?
How are you, man?
Hey, man, did y'all eat good, man? Did y'all get everything down that you were talking about on last part of last week?
Oh, yeah.
Diesel sent me a really good picture last night.
I was going in on the little Smokies. My wife made she made the pigs in a blanket in the shape of a football.
It looked great, by the way.
And then we had like special mustard, like beer mustard that we found at a hole-in-the-wall spot up in Brevard, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then we had the wings. We had pizza. We had Rotel dip, like with spicy sausage in it.
Oh, yeah.
And, man, it was on.
That football tray looked really good. She did good with that. Did you help her? Or was that all your line?
I did help out.
Kev, I
rolled like 5.
Kev, I'll be honest with you. We talked about the same foods last week. I went different. We had chili last night.
Ooh.
It was good. And we also did, if you ever heard of this, let me know, Kev, corn dip. So it's like regular corn, Mexican corn, mayonnaise, some spice, sour cream, onions. You ever heard of that?
No, you lost me with the sour cream, boss.
That sounds like Mexican street corn just off the cob.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah. But hey, man, this game last night, but I hadn't seen a D-line play like that since Strahan and them boys got off against Tom Brady again.
Yeah.
Like that. That's crazy how they. But you think about it, man. Them boys got a young D-line, man. I can't think of number 93's name, but the rest, like Sweat and the rest of the boys, they got after it, man. That was a straight. That offensive line should just take them some money today. Like
Milton Williams is who you're talking about.
Them boys, your little game check from the game last night, because it's like they played. What's the little game you used to hold hands and everybody used to run and you run through the hands?
Oh, Red Rover.
Red Rover. Yeah.
But it was free last night. Just come on.
You're talking about Milton Williams, Kev. He was phenomenal. 4 tackles last night.
Yes, sir.
2 sacks.
When Pat Mahomes got hit, one of them last sacks, when they stripped him and he got hit, man, he got handled. And Brandon Graham is a dog, man.
Yeah. He really is.
Philly, like, they wanted that more than Kansas City last. Kansas City wanted it, gave it to them. Philly went and got it.
Well, they have dudes. They have dudes, to your point, on the defense. How many of those guys, those dogs, are dogs from Georgia, right? How many Georgia defensive linemen they have on that defense?
Oh, man. And then after the game, when they asked Jalen about, like, just everything he's been through to get right now, the emotion that came in his face, and he held it and did not drop a tear. Like, listen, everything he's been through, what they said, I probably would have been crying like a whole baby standing right there last night.
You know what? It's what I said, though, Kev. Like, what he's done is so impressive. I mean, he's just the ultimate leader.
Oh, man. And they taught him, and now to get – that's like Lamar Jackson. With the running backs that they got in Philly and they got in Baltimore, that should make for a great Super Bowl right there. Now you got a guy in Jalen who will run it, and a guy like Lamar who will run it. Now you got these running backs. These boys should get like 6 carries for 80 yards now. You know, and then all these running backs got another 3 or 4, 5 years left. So this is Philly's gonna run this thing in a new dynasty. They might not get 3, but they should run off the next, at least being in the mix for the next 5 or 6.
Kevin, thanks for the call,
Great
man.
call,
as
Kevin.
Always. The last thing I'll say before we run Diesel, I just think that you talked about blueprint a minute ago on how to beat Mahomes, right? I think what we've seen in the last 2 Super Bowls is something that a Buffalo or a Cincinnati has to take and bottle up, right? They have to take what they saw last night and bottle that up. Buffalo and Cincinnati and these teams, and even Baltimore, to Kev's point, in the AFC, if they want to beat that guy, they've got to go get pass rushers. They've got to go get a defensive line that can dominate. Buffalo hasn't done that, right? In the AFC championship games, Diesel, Buffalo hasn't been able to get pressure on Mahomes. And they've blitzed. Buffalo's blitzed. That's the difference. What is it going to take for those AFC teams to bolster that defensive line the way that Philadelphia did? It was just so impressive. Was it the best game? No. But what Philadelphia did last night, man, was really, really impressive.
Kane wants to know what that mustard was that I was talking about. Kane, I'll get you the details and share it with everybody else as well. You know, I'm not stingy here. I want to share it with the class.
Mustard's
we'll
good.
talk about that on the other side of the break. And Clemson doing work, taking down the Duke Blue Devils right there at Little John Coliseum. That conversation is happening next right here on the Fan Upstate. I think Kane, P1 Armada Elitist, is a beer mustard dude just like me. As are you, Cole.
Oh, I love. Turn the mic on, by the way. Yeah, I love my.
Yeah.
I like
good.
that fancy. What is it called? Like the Dijon mustard.
Dijon mustard is
that what
fancy
it
to you? Well,
Isn't it?
I'm going to send you to Asheville.
Okay.
I found out where this stuff is made. It's called Woogie's. Woogie's beer mustard dipping sauce that we found. We were at a bar, pulled over one day, grabbed a pretzel. They brought out this beer mustard. It was absolutely incredible. And we ordered like a case of it online. Said ship it to the house. You got to keep it cold because there's egg in it.
Oh,
but I'm telling you, man, it is the best beer mustard I've ever had in my entire life. I understand that it's available in stores in the Asheville area, but if you're looking for it, just go to woogiefoods.com.
How do some people not like mustard? You ever thought about that? I mean, I know mayonnaise is different because mayonnaise, it's either loved or hated, but mustard's phenomenal.
Last night, Colin, you might say this is weird.
Okay.
My wife put together a fruit tray for the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Because like some people want to eat a little bit like last night was the first time in his entire life that my brother-in-law, who's 35 years old, had ever had a kiwi in his entire life.
You know what?
Like,
I
bro,
probably had
you gotta,
one.
You
I probably
gotta,
had
you gotta
two.
try some fruits. You gotta try some different things. There are picky. Point is, there are picky eaters out there who just don't try things, and you got to try things. You got to. Just like last night, or just like Saturday night, Clemson tried to give the game away at the very tail end, but they held on strong cold, taking down the Duke Blue Devils for a home dub, snapping the longest winning streak in college basketball this season. It was at 16. Well, that's over, and Clemson now finds themselves ranked inside the AP top 25, sitting right now at 23rd, jumping up from effectively 26th, first in others receiving votes, up to 23rd after beating Duke 77-71.
You know what, man? Who would have thought that game, we talked about it on Friday, who would have thought that one game, Diesel, came down to the court being slick? I mean, really?
Could you imagine if Cooper had gotten legitimately hurt on that last, it wasn't the last play, but it was close to the end.
Yeah.
That kind of sealed it.
It did.
I mean, like, you remember, obviously we talked about it last week. We talked about Zion blowing his shoe out. That's a big deal for Duke fans. If Cooper Flag had gone down right then and there, that would be unforgivable. We would be talking about Mopgate because Cole, I went back and I watched the what happened around that play multiple times. And yeah, the Clemson players and a few Duke players were sort of in that area. It's late in the game. They're sweating and they all leave that little spot on the court.
Yeah.
The mop girl comes out and she's mopping the area, but she does it like real quick and doesn't hit the whole area.
Good on her, right?
She just hit the little small area, and that is exactly where Cooper Flag went down.
You know what? That was the moment that we'll all remember, like him falling. And I know that we have a lot to get into this game, but what we all should remember is not Cooper Flag falling, but the absolute dominance, Diesel, from Victor Locken. Mm-hmm. Oh, my word.
They got a full 27 minutes out of him in that game, as opposed to the only 15 minutes he played before he fouled out against Georgia Tech earlier in the week. Victor was great. And he was driving Cooper Flag nuts on the defensive side of the floor for Clemson. Cooper Flag had nothing for Victor Locken. Hey, I mean, even in the first half, it's crazy when they put Victor on him. Cooper was scoring more, but he seemed more out of sorts than in the first half when they had Chauncey Wiggins on Cooper Flag for a majority of that first half, and Cooper wasn't scoring, but he just didn't seem as frustrated.
You know what? And Cooper Flag didn't have a terrible game. I mean, he hit 18 points, but he wasn't, in my mind, watching that game, which, by the way, the whole game was a really good basketball game. He just wasn't as efficient, Diesel, from the field for me. 6 of 17. Again, 18 points is 18 points. You'll take it. He wasn't the leading scorer, though. I'll tell you where I thought Clemson was going to lose the game. Every time Tyrese Proctor let the basketball go for Duke, number 5, I said, oh, boy. Every time it went in, 23 points. He was 4 of 8, 50% from three-point line, Diesel, 9 of 18 from the field. Tyrese Proctor was the guy on Saturday. He was the guy that I thought was going to be the death knell in that game. If he would have finished the game as hot as he started the game, Clemson would have been in trouble. But what a win for Clemson at home, man, just to be able to weather the storm. You and I talked about it, to be able to weather the storm on Saturday and not allow Duke to get out big. Clemson kept that game within reach the entire time, Diesel.
Yeah, I thought Clemson checked off a lot of really key things for winning big-time games. They were aggressive. They were driving and attacking a lot in the first half. They weren't settling for threes, which they did a lot in the Georgia Tech game.
Yeah.
They were moving the ball well. They were moving without the ball really, really well. They were getting deep into the shot clock. They weren't panicking. They were playing tough, physical defense. They were a little sloppy with turnovers in the first half, something like 8-9 turnovers in the first half. But Cole, I mean, they played really, really well, and they had their best performance of the season when it really mattered. And you got to give them a lot of credit for being able to do that.
I'll tell you this: I think that Clemson's home court, and again, home field advantage, home court advantage, Diesel, it doesn't always dictate a game, right? It doesn't always dictate who's going to win and who's going to lose. But I thought Clemson's crowd was phenomenal. Texter said from the 350, this did not affect Duke, but I am surprised the ACC allows Clemson to turn its scoreboard into a strobe light during opposing team free throws. Many would consider using the venue lights this way as an attempt to cheat. That comes from Orchard Master. Orchard Master. Hadn't seen your name much on the text line.
Welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Welcome. Texter says this comes from Philip. Only thing is Clemson can't have a big letdown tonight against the Tar Heels, and we'll talk about that because
that's
what a short turnaround that is.
That's rough to play arguably one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country and then have to turn around and face North Carolina. Good. At least, Cole, it's a home game.
Yeah.
And they're not having to go on the road. I'm sure if it was scheduled as a road game, they would have until, tomorrow night or Wednesday to get that game in. But look, I thought they played really aggressive. I liked the way that they were in the second half. Clemson was switching between man and zone regularly. It was like every 2 or 3 sets they were switching between man and zone, sometimes every other. And they were really confusing Duke on their offensive side of the court. And they couldn't get anything going. I mean, yeah, they had guys hitting threes, keeping them in that game. Otherwise, it could have been busted wide open, and it could have been a blowout.
Duke had 18 points off of Clemson's 9 turnovers, or let's see, 12 turnovers, excuse me. So Duke's 18 points off of Clemson's 12 turnovers, Diesel, is a little concerning. They did have more points in the paint, right? However, what I will say, Clemson had more points in the paint by a lot than Duke is what I meant. But what I will say is if you're a Clemson fan, I think what has to excite you the most, and I know you're not going to have home court advantage throughout the tournament, right? We all know that you have to go and play in a neutral site. But what should excite you is you kind of went into this Duke game with a little bit of unknown, right? Diesel, we talked about the ACC not really given the test that you usually have throughout the course of the season. And Clemson, they lost to Memphis earlier in the season. The very next game, they lost to South Carolina, like on a Saturday, Tuesday kind of deal. And, they beat Kentucky, so they did have a good win against a really good SEC team. But I think going into Saturday's game, there was still a little bit of unknowns. And I think Clemson answered the test or checked all the boxes well on Saturday. And if you're a Clemson fan, Diesel, when you look ahead to March, which is just around the corner, is February 10th, you should feel really good about your team's ability to play with the best teams on the planet because Duke's one of the best. They were number 2, and I know the AP came out just, a couple hours ago, and Duke fell a little bit, Diesel. Clemson now in the top 25, but that should make you feel good about what you saw on Saturday.
Orchard Master is taking strays from Kane, P1 Armada Elitist on the stream. He says Orchard Master loves some sour grapes, apparently. Taking shots, man. What I really like, Cole, I think the play that told me Clemson had a real shot, like the fight was there, was that sequence with about 4 minutes to go in the first half. Jaden Zachary pokes the ball away from Con Knipple. Chauncey Wiggins dives in. Knipple pulls a Grayson Allen and tries to trip Jaden Zachary. Yeah. I mean, they had him on the ropes. They clearly had them frustrated at that point in the game. And it just felt like when that happened, there's something special going on here.
Really big win. And speaking of the AP 25, the top 25 was released a couple hours ago, Diesel, despite the loss. Auburn doesn't move. Auburn still the number one team in the country, 21-2. Alabama, now the second best, taking Duke's spot. Duke falls to 3. Your Clemson Tigers, if you are a Clemson fan out there, you are now the number 23rd team in the land after the win over Duke. You and I talked about it last week. I don't think we expected Clemson to lose to Georgia Tech and then beat Duke. We maybe thought it was going to go the other way, but it's funny. You have to play the game. Clemson now in the top 25, Diesel, deservedly so. After that one, the top 10, Auburn, Bama, Florida, Duke, Tennessee, Houston, Purdue, A&M, St. John's, and Iowa State. That's your top 10.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by Auburn not falling. I mean, they were getting blown out there for a little while. They came back to make it an interesting ball game, but we're going to find out about this Alabama team and Auburn. They're facing off twice on February 15th. That will be next Saturday. And then again on March 8th, they'll have their home and home back and forth. I'm just a little confused about Auburn not falling anymore. I mean, I guess I don't know what the AP's criteria are. Are they looking at strictly at best team? Are they looking at results have to matter? What are they looking at here to make these decisions? It's a little confusing there, Cole. But what I did love most about that game was having Dickie V back on the sidelines, calling the game. Yeah. First time in 2 years, Dick Vitale has been on the sideline calling a game. He battled and beat 4 types of cancer. They were saying during the broadcast he had undergone like 161 some odd therapies, that he had undergone a dozen or more surgeries, countless rounds of chemotherapy. And he had a beautiful statement to anybody who's out there dealing with and battling with cancer. He said, keep your positivity up. You can fight this. You can beat this. I mean, it was amazing.
It was great.
It was seeing him choked up, got me choked up while I was watching it, man, because who doesn't love Dick Vitale? As a matter of fact, we have a little Dick Vitale bobblehead over in the corner of the room. If you push a button, if you put a battery in it, it'll actually, have some quotes in there.
2 years, man. 2 years since he'd been out there, and it was awesome to see him at Clemson. And, the last thing I'll say on the Clemson front is I did say a minute ago that Clemson fans should feel really, really, really good about the way they competed with Duke. I guess the flip side is, like, the only hesitation, the only worry, the only question, Diesel, is, are you going to get 9 of 12 and 4 of 6 at the line and 22 points and 3 blocks and 4 rebounds out of Victor Locken consistently? We know that's not who he is from an offensive standpoint. 22 points is a season high. 22 points for Victor Locken is an incredible night for him. That's just not who he has been. I don't know if he'll consistently, when the tournament arrives, even the ACC tournament, I don't know if that's something that he'll be able to consistently produce week in and week out. It'll be interesting.
You just wish he wasn't a senior and that you could keep him for another year and watch blanking on his first name, Reeves, the guy that transferred from Christian Reeves, who transferred from Duke to Clemson. Have another year, those two together, having 2 legitimately good big men on this roster, because that's Clemson's biggest weakness right now is you don't have a lot of bench depth. You don't have a lot of size on the bench. You got some decent shooters on the bench, but you don't have a whole lot of size out there. So if a team can frustrate Victor Locken, which they did against Georgia Tech, you're in trouble because they can take him out of the game.
And I misspoke. He had 23. I said last night was a season high. The Memphis loss for Clemson, he had 23 that day. That was on a Saturday before they lost to South Carolina the following Tuesday, I believe. So it was not a season high for Victor Locken. Close to it, though, Diesel. 23 against Memphis was his best. But here listen to this. Since, he had a little bit of a stretch where he was sick, the last 4 games, Syracuse, 16 points, Virginia Tech, 11 points, NC State, 13 points, and Duke, 22 points. He hadn't had a stretch like that all year. So maybe maybe this guy, you talked about him being a senior and in the first year in the program for Brownell, a transfer, maybe this guy's finally starting to feel himself a little bit. And if he can continue that 12, 13, 14, I think that might be enough to be effective.
You know what Brad should do is he should petition the NCAA to give Victor another year of eligibility because of the language barrier. Because it's difficult to coach somebody who English is not their first language, so you get an extra year of eligibility. Well, it would track, right? It would win because everything wins. Texter says, now the Gamecocks have beaten the team that beat Duke. Petty, but I like it, Texter.
Well, is he wrong? I mean,
he's not
transitive
wrong.
property, right?
How the hell did Clemson lose to that South Carolina team?
Speaking of Clemson, we will have Will Vandervort of the Clemson Insider joining us at 4:05 today to go a little bit deeper into Saturday's game, as well as talk about tonight's game. Boy, what a quick turnaround that is for Clemson. Saturday, North Carolina, or Saturday, Duke, Monday, North Carolina. A tough little stretch there for the Tigers. Another home game. We'll talk to Will Vandervort of the Clemson Insider about that in about 25 minutes or so on the show. But let's flip the coin over, Diesel, and go to the South Carolina Gamecocks. Not a good weekend for the men or Dawn Staley and the women. We'll get into that next. In case you may have forgotten, Tolos, you have a chance to win a free trip to Las Vegas. It's the Slam Dunk in Vegas with the Fan Upstate. Maybe you've been turning it off and leaving it off lately, and you just tuned in today for the very first time, or maybe you've legitimately been busy and haven't listened in to the Fan Upstate in a while. No excuses. We don't do excuses on this show. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryce, and if you just tuned in for the first time in some while, welcome back, welcome in. Want to let you know that you have a chance to enter to win a free trip to Las Vegas. Not only free, but with $20,000 to go along with you and 3 other friends. You download the free Odyssey app, AUDACY. Log in, create an account. If you don't have one, listen to the Fan Upstate for at least 1 hour a day to enter. One lucky winner will score round-trip airfare and accommodations for 4 in Las Vegas, plus $20,000. You can enjoy the first 2 rounds of the college basketball championships while staying at the Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, premium sports viewing destination, and visit the biggest March hoops party at Stadium Swim. Good luck in this national contest. It was a beautiful day yesterday, Diesel, to be at Stadium Swim. But I don't know if walked outside today. It felt like you moved.
Yeah, we went from 81 degrees, Cole. I looked at my watch at one point in the day. It was 81 degrees to where we at now, 52 today, a 30-degree swing, a 29-degree swing.
Hey, it's supposed to be in the 20s again next week.
I love it because I'm going skiing on Friday.
Yeah.
So thank God we're not having 81 degrees leading up to that. I'd be out there. I wouldn't even call it dirty.
You'd be rolling down dirt, rolling in mud. You'd be rolling in mud. Speaking of rolling in mud, South Carolina, not a good weekend for the Gamecocks. 80-57 loss to Kentucky on Saturday. Diesel, the men are now Owen. You know Owen?
Yeah.
0-10.
Good friend of the people of Columbia.
0-10 are the Gamecocks in SEC play. 80-57 loss to Kentucky. Kentucky's 5-5 in the SEC, 16-7 overall. And South Carolina men, Diesel, they just can't figure it out, man. I hate to say this, they may go winless.
I'm disappointed that we haven't seen one snarky Clemson fan. And it seems like something Kane would do, honestly. Change their username to 0-10.
Well, you just gave them a good idea. And I'm a little guilty. I did throw the speaking of the rolling in the mud.
Yeah, you get credit for it. I'm just saying, if we have any Clemson fans who want to troll, change your name to Owen, OWEN 10.
But now, Diesel, usually the women bail the men out. However, didn't happen yesterday. I watched South Carolina, Texas yesterday. It was a good game, but man, oh man, you talk about a 57-game SEC win streak. Did you? I didn't stutter that time. Did you hear that? 57.
That should be illegal.
Games.
That's a lot of games to win straight.
And the streak is gone. The streak is over. It's snapped. Texas 66-62 over South Carolina and Dawn Staley yesterday. Dawn Staley, though, is a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, so her night ended well. But you ask me, Diesel, you say, hey, Cole, who played really well for the Gamecocks yesterday? Well, Malaysia Fulwiley had 13, but if you ask me who else had double digits, you know what I tell you? Nobody yesterday. Chloe Kitts, Bree Hall, Raven Johnson had 1 point last night, 26 minutes. Nobody had double digits, and that just wasn't the case for Texas, as Madison Booker, 20 points for her last night, or yesterday rather, and let's see, Taylor Jones, 11 points for Texas. Texas is a really good team, 24-2 now, 10-1 in the SEC. Just put it on South Carolina yesterday, and it was a close game. But South Carolina only 13 points in the fourth quarter. South Carolina started a little slow, and they finished a little slow. Just not a typical game or a typical day for the Gamecocks, the Lady Gamecocks, and Dawn Staley yesterday.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know why their production was down so much in the second and in the fourth quarters. Only 11 points in the second, 13 points in the fourth. By far, their 2 weakest quarters of that game. They were still in it deep. Let's not be disrespectful here. Texas is an elite basketball
They're
team,
really,
24
really
and 2.
Yeah.
They're 10-1 in conference. So I mean, it's taking the most elite performances to knock off the South Carolina Gamecocks. And hey, that's a beautiful place to be when we're shocked that you're not winning every single game by 10.
And you know what's crazy about it, Diesel? They're 22 and 2. I mean, they're still really, really good.
It's not like they're a bubble team, right?
No, they're still elite, They're still elite, but because we're used to domination, it's like, oh, South Carolina lost? You mean they lost a football game? Or a basketball game, rather? Football. Gosh, don't even get me started on that. Do you realize, Diesel, now I just made a mistake and said a football game. Starting today, this begins the drought. Football games, you're not going to say that again until August.
When we come back, let's talk to Will Vandervort, the Clemson insider, to talk Clemson hoops. Maybe a little recap of the Duke basketball game. And, of course, looking forward to North Carolina. What are the odds that they fall into the trap? Talking to Will next on the Fan Upstate. You know what impressed me most, Cole, about Cooper Flagg on Saturday, even in the loss, when his lip got busted open, he started playing that much harder. It's like he saw his own blood, and he turned on a switch, man.
I thought you were going to say that he could do a split when he slipped.
Well, he didn't do a split.
No, he could have.
Honestly,
bad, man.
When I watched it live in person, and his feet slid out from under him, and he went down like wham, like you just dropped a 2x4 and it fell. I thought his head bounced off the floor. I was like, that dude's going to be concussed and he's going to be screwed for a couple of nights.
He's so tall, though. It's just like, what is he, 6'7"? I mean, what? I mean, it's just he's unfreakishly abnormal in a way that he can be that big, but be as skilled as he is. And
he almost went down again a couple of plays after that.
Yeah.
You know, he slipped and fell. It's ironic, Cole, that Clemson effectively lost the Georgia Tech game on a slip and fall and losing the ball. And then they were able to beat Duke on a slip and fall turnover. Ice the game.
I know we have Will Vandervort coming up in like 4 minutes, but did you like the new score ticker at the bottom last night? You could see through it? The transparent?
Yeah, it was really odd to me at first. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, cool.
I liked it.
They're changing things up.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It just popped up on the screen right here in our studio, and I saw it, and it was, conversation last night. It's like, oh, you like the new score?
Well, I mean, think about it this way. Like back in the day, it used to be up in the corner of the screen.
Yeah.
And if they were throwing to the wide receiver on the far side of the field, very often the graphic would block what was going on.
I like it. I really do. I like it a lot. I thought it was very modern.
Do you think it's going to look dated though? Like, think about it this way. When you watch highlights of games from, let's just call it like 2007. Let's go back to the Texas versus Southern Cal Rose Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Those games look so dated now.
Oh, my gosh.
It looks like this is footage shot in the 50s.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yesterday afternoon after the South Carolina game, I watched the fourth quarter I found it on YouTube. I watched the fourth quarter of Tom Brady versus the St. Louis Rams and Tom Brady's first ever Super Bowl, like 2002 or 2004. Yeah. It looked like I was watching something from the 80s.
Terrible, right?
Oh, my gosh, it was terrible.
It's terrible. I'm sure back then they were probably working on fully digital cameras, and digital cameras were brand new, and the technology wasn't there. It wasn't as sharp. Back then, film was much, much better. That's why movies from the 70s and the early 80s look amazing.
Because that was 2002.
Because film technology had gotten about as good as it was going to get by that time.
That was 23. Think about that. 23 years ago, when Tom Brady was in his first ever Super Bowl in 2002 was when he won it against the St. Louis Rams. And I was watching it on YouTube laughing. I mean, it was just so hard to watch.
Also, you got to think this, they shot everything in a 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yeah.
And then when you're watching it on YouTube, it's probably stretched out a little bit to fill the screen. So that's going to look extra weird. And like I said, I mean, you probably don't remember this because I don't think you're old enough, but like when people first started getting digital cameras and like you thought, man, I'm on to something. I got a 2.8 megapixel camera. Woo, look at me. 2.8 megapixel was friggin' terrible, but you had the digital camera.
Yeah. You know what else I loved yesterday? And I hadn't brought this up yet. I meant to bring it up in the first segment. I thought there was a lot to be said yesterday about, and I know everybody has different opinions on the Super Bowl halftime, and we'll get into that, but I thought there was a lot to be said about the togetherness of what the Fox production crew did before the Super Bowl started with the first responders video. If you saw that, that was just so breathtaking. Like, you couldn't watch that and not cry. With I think they shot it at like 3 a.m. in the streets of New Orleans, and the national anthem and God Bless America. It was just, everybody wants to go to the Super Bowl, but I think the best seat for the Super Bowl is on your couch.
I think this was one of the best overall produced Super Bowls I've seen in a long time. Right? It felt like Roger Goodell understood the assignment with how do we make this thing pro-America, pro-first responders, positive as much as he possibly could. Now, you can certainly say what you want to say about the halftime show, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But I thought they really crushed it. I thought they did a great job. You're right. I mean, there's some tearjerker moments. I mean, God, just imagine, because that Bourbon Street never sleeps. Could you imagine You didn't know this was coming. You got an apartment on the third floor of in Bourbon Street, and you're like, man, I just want to go to bed. And here they are cranking up all these lights, making all this noise. I can't go to sleep.
And I thought Tom Brady was terrific. I thought, Tom Brady, the way he started the season was a little shaky, Diesel, but I thought Tom Brady was terrific last night. You talked about the production of it and his analysis of the game. I know everybody wants to talk about, Greg Olsen, and Greg Olsen's fantastic, and maybe him being a little more deserving, but I don't know. I was really, really impressed with Tom Brady and his analysis last night, especially at the quarterback position. That was fun.
We go to the phone lines and we talk to Will Vandervort of the Clemson Insider. Joins us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Will, appreciate your time today. I was watching that game. I noticed just how effective Clemson's defense was when it was switching back and forth almost every possession between man and zone. It was really confusing Duke on their offensive side of the ball. Where did that scheme come from? Is that something that Brad Brownell likes to do regularly? Because it's the first time I've really noticed him doing it, and man, Duke could not put up points for a long stretch.
Yeah, no, mostly Clemson plays man-to-man defense, and they did, I would say, still mostly in that game as well, except for a little bit of time period. I thought Ian Shefflin was the difference. I think his body and the way he bodied up Cooper Flagg was the difference in the game, and it felt like they could wear Duke down because Duke, even though it's good as they are and their starting five is really, really good, they don't rotate. They don't use many different guys. Their starters play a lot of minutes, and they probably play maybe 7 to 8 guys. And Clemson plays a little bit more, especially early in the game. Clemson's rotation will be, they'll put about 10 guys out there. And I thought Clemson just kind of bodied them up and wore them down more than anything. And I think that's what showed in the second half and why Duke had that long spell, just because Clemson was just probably more physical than any team Duke has played to this point. At least in the ACC play, that is.
If you want to ask a question of Will Vandervort of the Clemson Insider, who's joining us right now, you can. The text line 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Hey, Will, it's Cole. I want to ask about Victor Locken on Saturday night. It was not his career high. It was 1 point shy of tying it, 23 against Memphis. The first part of the question is, what went into that performance in your mind and what allowed him to be so successful? And the second part is that something we can expect down the stretch? Because as of late, he is playing a lot better offensively in terms of putting points on the board.
When he stays out of foul trouble, he can be a force for you on both ends of the floor. There's no doubt about that. And I think you're starting to see that with him. A little more consistency on the offensive end. He's been really good on defense all year. But I think the thing you saw the other night was more or less what Duke was doing, and Clemson knew, and Brad even said this in the post-game press conference, that they thought they would have some success with him inside because even though Duke has some big guys, Duke likes to guard the perimeter. And so there's a lot of space in there to get the ball inside, and they felt like he would have a lot of one-on-one opportunities and he'd win those matchups. And he did. To his credit, he still got to make the shots and execute. He did that, going 9 for 12 in the game, and he did the same thing against Kentucky. And he's had a couple other games this year where he's played well, also offensively. So yeah, he's been really good lately. I think you could, if he stays out of foul trouble tonight against North Carolina, probably going to see a little bit of the same thing. North Carolina's a much smaller team, and I think you're going to see Clemson want to get the ball inside to him and show that size advantage that he gives Clemson in a lot of matchups. And I think down the stretch, he's going to be – there's not too many teams that have a 6'11", 7-foot guy in the middle that can go – and also not just that he's tall, but he's also very physical. And he can, like I said, on the defensive side, he can guard the rim as good as anybody. The thing people forget about the other night was, he had 22 points, but the best thing was he had 3 blocked shots and on the defensive end, and then also had 3 offensive rebounds, which were huge. All 3 of those rebounds were because they were putbacks, and so he did a little bit of everything the other night, and that's why he was so effective.
Will, how is Brad Brownell sort of stressing staying out of foul trouble? If you've got a team that tends to like to rack up a lot of fouls in a game, how does a coach coach that out of their team? Because that certainly came back to bite them in the Georgia Tech game, and it will when you go into 3 overtime games like that. But how do you teach players to foul less?
Well, the main guy is Victor Lockett. Everybody else is pretty good. You don't see, Ian Shefflin fouling out much, and he stays pretty good about playing smart down there. But Victor, as Brownell explained the other day, he's an emotional guy, and so he kind of gets caught up in the energy that's going on the floor, and also what's happening. And if he gets a bad call goes against him, he'll do something not too smart right after that. And if he has a turnover, returns the ball over, he seems to get frustrated and lets it get the best of him, and he's over there reaching or doing something like that. And so they had a conversation with him after the Georgia Tech game. He only played 15 minutes in that game and fouled out with 3 minutes to go in regulation, so they didn't have him at all in the overtime period. And so they said they got with him and talked to him about his composure. He said for himself personally, he learned a lot when his teammates were trying to win that game and doing everything they could to win it without him. And they go over to the sideline drenched in sweat. He's sitting there thinking, here I am, fresh, and could really be helpful to the team right now, but I can't because I fouled out because I didn't play smart. He said he learned a lot from that experience, and that's something he's going to keep in the back of his mind as they go forward. That's
really good stuff there, talking about Victor Lockett. Will. Let's step off of the basketball court for a second and roll over to Dabo's house, the football field, if you will. A little bit of news today from Pete Thamel, Will, that Dabo Swinney adding another former head coach to the fold in ex-JMU and ECU Mike Houston. Again, it was reported by Pete Thamel. I'm hearing that it's unpaid, but Will, if that's true, it's still a lot of good experience, valuable experience for this Clemson defense. What do you think of this hire for Dabo?
Yeah, he's going to work with Tom Allen, from what we're hearing. He's it is, from what we understand, it's unpaid, but guys, this is how it works. Generally, what that means is they're volunteer coaches, but they'll probably work football camps and stuff like that, and that's how Dabo will pay them. They get paid, they just don't get paid through the school, and so that's how that works. And so it's a good experience to have a guy like that to come in and just kind of lean on a former head coach, defensive coordinator. He's a defensive-minded kind of guy. Another guy you put in there to help Tom Allen out. And so I think it's a good move by Dabo again. Just what he does, he likes to do this. He's done this now for a long time. He had Terry Bowden years ago come in. That proved very beneficial for both Terry Bowden and for him. And he's kept that along, a Ted Roof, and then last year, of course, the former South Carolina defense coordinator was in there. This is something Dabo does, and he likes to have that experience there because, guys, so people understand, the best thing about that is you have somebody else who's had different experiences in the meetings, right? And they're in that room, and they can lean on them, and they can say, hey, what did you guys do in a certain situation like this? And so that's kind of what those things do. When you have this kind of variety of head coaches and coaches on your staff, it really brings a lot of experience in key situations in those meeting rooms that helps them form game plans of what they're going to do the next week, and also how they're going to self-scout and fix things that are going on their own team.
Will Vandervort, the Clemson insider, joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Another season set to start here in just a few days. Baseball season is officially a go. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a 3-game stretch in Arlington, Texas at the Shriners Children's College Showdown. Oklahoma State, Arizona, Ole Miss. Your thoughts initially, what do you hope that Clemson comes back with as far as results-wise?
Well, I think results-wise, I don't think you really don't pay attention to results. I mean, yeah, do you want to win the game? That's why you're playing in them. But I wouldn't get too caught up in the results early in the season because, especially with Clemson, they got a very young pitching staff. They did lose a lot of fielders as well in that lineup, and so they're gonna have a new lineup. You got 2 new starting pitchers basically in your rotation, so they're going to be trying to fill out guys in their bullpen. And the other teams are going to be doing the same too. I always say, you really don't get a feel for what the team is going to be until they get past that South Carolina series. that kind of gives you an idea. The first couple of weeks are always filling out. And the good news for Clemson is they're going to play some really good teams before the South Carolina series now. And so they're going to come out of this with a real good idea, who they're going to have as their number 2 and number 3 guys. Who they can count on in the lineup. Where are they? Who's going to be those power guys that they need? Obviously, to kind of go in that 2, 3, and 4 spot. There's a lot of question marks on this team, guys, coming back. When you lose the guys that they lost last year on the offensive side of things, at the plate with power and things like that, that doesn't happen just overnight. You looked at the softball team earlier today, right? I mean, this past weekend, right? They had a brand new lineup, and it took them a while to get going. And finally, the last couple games, you saw those girls start to get used to each other and how they were, where they hit in the lineup and what they got to do. And so, obviously, baseball's the same way. And I just don't. Early in the season, I try not to pay attention to results as much as I do what the coaches are doing to try to get themselves better and see how they respond to each game differently based off what just happened in that first game.
Well, it's a quick turnaround for the basketball team tonight, as you mentioned earlier in the interview, as we're joined by Will Vandervort of the Clemson Insider right here on the Fan Upstate. A quick turnaround, man. I don't know what yesterday looked like for this basketball team. They might have done a little a walkthrough, shoot around, if you will. I'm sure it was nothing heavy, as they had one day in between the Duke game and the North Carolina game. Not ideal for scheduling purposes, but it is what it is. Do you anticipate Clemson, being a little dull to start tonight, coming off that big win at home on Saturday?
Well, we'll see. I don't think so, because they're playing North Carolina. I don't care if North Carolina is, number 1 in the country, or North Carolina is not ever going to make the tournament again. When Clemson sees that baby blue come into its arena, they're going to be ready for them. And so, that game's going to be – they're emotionally going to be fine. I think their legs are going to be fine. Brownell said the other day, he told his team, hey, guys, you got to get used to playing like this, because this is tournament basketball. This is what you do in the tournament. You play one game, and then you get a day off, and then the next day you're playing a really good team right after that. And if you want to advance, that's how you got to learn how to do it. So, he kind of took it as a challenge to them to kind of understand this is what it's going to be like in the postseason. And also, he said, as far as the legs go, that they were going to have the same approach that they had last week after that triple overtime game against Georgia Tech. He gave the team a couple days off and had no practice, and then came back really on Friday, Thursday and Friday with a couple of light practice on Thursday and then a regular practice on Friday. And he said that he thinks that did a world of wonder for his team's legs. So what he said the other night, he's going to give them Sunday off. And they were going to come in and do a walkthrough this morning and then get ready to play tonight. Really, that's kind of – we'll see what happens, guys. North Carolina had to do the same thing, though. They played a 4 o'clock game, and they got to travel. So I don't think there's any disadvantage one way or the other in this game. I think Clemson might have a little bit more advantage, because North Carolina has to spend some time traveling where Clemson doesn't. So, it is what it is, and we'll see what happens tonight. I think they're going to be ready to play, though, because they're playing that baby blue, and that always gets them going.
Will, did you get a chance to chat, or have you heard anything from Christian Reeves about what it was like beating his old team and his old teammates, and how much that meant to him? Any extra special juice for him in that Duke game?
No, we didn't get a chance to talk to him. He wasn't available to us after the game. I thought, though, he played really well. I thought against Georgia Tech. If you go back to that game Tuesday night, Brad even said in the post-game press conference that night that he probably made a mistake and should have put Christian Reeves in more when Lockton got in foul trouble there in the second half. They did play him a lot more in this game. Let me look at my stats here. See how many minutes they played him, as I'm looking it up. See, where are my minutes at? He played 5 minutes playing, so that's good for him. It's more than he's played, and he played in the second half some, which he hadn't really done much of. So I thought he was very productive when he was in there for the most part. Now, he got a -3 while he was in there, but, I thought he played better than that for the most part. I think he finished with 5 points or so. And so one of his better games of this season, had a couple rebounds. So that's what they need from him when he can come off the bench, is just give him a little bit of a spark when he's in there. I think that did a well of good for his confidence, guys. No, there's no doubt in my mind because, Duke let him go because they didn't think he was going to be helpful to them. So Clemson's hoping that backfires on them. And at least the other night when he was in there, I thought he kind of proved that a little bit.
Will, fantastic stuff as always, man. Did you have a really good Super Bowl spread last night?
I did. We had ribs and wings, and I cooked some hamburgers early in the day. So we kind of made it a whole tailgate kind of day, Super Bowl. And the only thing that sucked about the Super Bowl was my Steelers weren't in it. But at least the Chiefs lost and the Steelers, and nobody gets credit because for some reason people think a dynasty is winning 6 Super Bowls in 20 years for some reason, with only 2 people that did that on that entire franchise. When the real dynasty was Pittsburgh's 4 Super Bowls in 6 years in the 1970s, which is with the same team and everybody. So that's the true dynasty. And the Chiefs could have tied that last night, but they didn't. So I was happy and Steeler Nation was happy.
They did not. Will, great stuff as always, man. We appreciate your time.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next time.
Will Vandervort, the
Thanks,
Clemson
Will.
Insider. You can follow him on Twitter at SteelerWill. And ribs and wings, those were 2 of the top candidates, Diesel, in our Super Bowl spread bracket last week. But hey,
We didn't have ribs at ours. I was a little disappointed.
you know
The
what?
wings were great.
Let me tell you what I did. I don't know why. I chose ribs over wings in our bracket, right?
Yeah.
I was craving wings all Thursday, craving them Friday. I was going to have them for the Super Bowl, but instead I had a full rack of ribs on Saturday for lunch. A full rack. And I thought I could eat them all, and I embarrassed myself. I couldn't.
Aw.
I barely ate half. I
Aw.
couldn't even eat a full rack. You think you could eat a full rack of ribs?
If that's all I was eating, yeah. But
I thought so. That's
otherwise,
all I
no.
had. That's all I had. I thought I could do it. I failed.
Whew.
I failed.
It'd be tough.
I told you, Diesel, that I wanted to be better in the Super Bowl of making a notebook, if you will, making notes of the Super Bowl, not play by play, but big moments throughout the game. I did that on my phone yesterday, and I want to go through that. My book of notes from the Super Bowl. Tolos, if you're just tuning into the show, your reaction to last night's game as well. We'll get back into the Super Bowl conversation next. You know, Diesel, sometimes I have a bad habit of watching a game, a really big championship game, and then a day will go by. It'll be a Saturday, Sunday will go by. You and I, the whole morning of Monday goes by. We get on the air and, we're talking about the game, and I'm thinking, man, I had so many things I wanted to talk about, but I didn't make that mistake last night. I took notes on my phone, on my notes app.
It's good.
It's a good start. A good start. So I took notes on my phone. That way I have all the big moments. I want to go through my book of notes last night. I also asked the question here when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. And by the way, I want to let you Tolos know, Overreaction Monday coming up at 5 p.m., 30 minutes from now. Have your overreactions ready. I also asked the question in this very segment, Diesel, where did it go wrong for Kansas City? Like, if they could take this game and they could redo it, right? They could hit replay on this game and have a second chance, a mulligan.
They'd lose to the Bills, so they didn't have to face this team and get blasted.
So they
like
lose
that.
in the Super Bowl. They'd rather lose in the AFC Championships, what you're saying. And maybe that's true, right?
It's less embarrassing to get blown out in the AFC Championship game than it is the Super Bowl.
It may be true. That may be. So I thought last night, I said, okay, let me take notes. Let me go and write down the biggest moments of the game. That way, for the show, I'll have, a little bit better thoughts on what went wrong for Kansas City. Obviously, you and I didn't know Kansas City was going to lose before the game started, but it was really interesting that Kansas City got off to the start that they got off to. And I want to hear from you, Tolos, as well. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's FANFONE. The phone lines are open. The text line also open as well. 844-326-3663. So, Diesel, I was very, very concerned. I was very, very upset at the very beginning of the game. First drive, Kansas City got Philadelphia behind the chains, right? 3rd and 11, Philadelphia. 4th and 2. What do? They said, we're going to go for it. We're going to roll out the offense. And 4th and 2, they had a one-on-one coverage on the right side of the formation with A.J. Brown. Deep ball to A.J. Brown. And what happens? Whoop! A freaking flag comes out. And I thought to myself, oh, boy.
Here we go again.
This is not good, right? This is not good. A horrible horse poop emoji call that was pass interference against Philadelphia. They ended up having to punt the football away. And at that moment, Diesel, I thought, oh, my God, we're going to sit here and we're going to have this literally is going – what we talked about last week with this being rigged, it's literally going to come to fruition.
Yeah, it felt like there was a confirmation bias coming. This is something that a lot of people believed, that whether it's true or not, a lot of people believed it. That's what I said last week. Enough people believe it that there is legs to it, and Roger Goodell has to, at least internally, deal with this in some way. And people are looking for reasons to confirm their bias. They believe that the referees are biased, so they're looking for things that'll confirm that bias and completely ignoring things that don't confirm that bias.
You know what? You're right. Whether it's true or not, people do believe it. The common folk believe it, right? The football casuals believe it. And I don't think that's really good for the game. James on the YouTube stream, welcome in, James. He says, go Birds. It's amazing what can happen when the refs treat Mahomes like every other quarterback in the league. And I was really worried, Diesel. I was really worried. So I said earlier in the show that I thought Philadelphia's D-line, their front four set the tone, right? And they did. But fast forward from that first drive, Philadelphia, they punt the ball, Kelsey and the Mahomes offense, they get the football back, right? Chiefs football. We all said that Kelsey's got to be involved in this game, right? He's getting older. We knew that his speed wasn't the same as it was 3-4 years ago. We know that the guy is getting older in age. And from the very get-go, just like I thought Philadelphia's D-line set the tone, Diesel, in a bad way, I think Travis Kelce also set the tone like in the wrong way.
Well, it proves that Mahomes and Kelsey are not the 1-2 punch that they used to be. Mahomes is still there. Kelsey is a couple years older. He's starting to fade away just a little bit. I wonder, Cole, and we got the confirmation last week or 10 days ago from Travis Kelce. I'm coming back and playing another year. That's great. I wonder if that kind of an ass whooping changes his mind, though. If that, like, those are the little things that in the offseason start creeping into your mind of, man, biggest game, I wasn't there. Biggest game, I was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they all have this complex of invincibility. And when all of a sudden they can't do what they used to do, or they have bad games, these are the thoughts that start creeping into their minds.
And that's what I wrote down. You can set the tone in a good way, Diesel, but you also can set it in the wrong way. It was 2nd and 9. Mahomes passed to Travis Kelce last night, and Kelce just drops it. Just absolutely drops the ball. Incomplete pass. Eagles get the football back. Their second drive of the game looked to be halted, Diesel, until, and I know you'll remember this, 3rd down, Jalen Hurts past Dallas Goedert was high and incomplete. However, guess what? Contact. A flag comes out. A little bit of a controversial call there as well. Maybe a makeup call.
The fix is in. They're supporting the Eagles. Everybody can see it.
I think that was a makeup call, right? Because
but referees will tell you till the day is long that they don't do that. That they don't call,
and they'll
makeup
lie till the
calls.
day is long. They'll lie. They do call makeup call. I think it was a makeup call. So that allows Philadelphia to get a first down. Hurts first touchdown pass to Dotson. Eagles go up 7-0. The touchdown was overturned. He was short. Tush push, touchdown, Eagles. And you know, Philadelphia gets on the board. From that point, when Philly was up 7-0 last night, I felt like watching the game, and I want to know what you thought. I felt like watching, okay, Philly's off to a great start. However, they've got to keep their foot on the gas. I felt like the dam was going to break at some point. I felt like whether it be late in the first quarter, early in the second, that Mahomes and that offense was going to get going. They just never did.
Yeah, everybody at the party that I was at was saying the same thing. Don't worry, Mahomes will turn it on in the second half.
Yeah.
Or Mahomes will turn it on in the fourth quarter. But by that point, you know, the score was out of hand, and Philadelphia already had, 40 points on the board. But still, I mean, there was this prevailing thought that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs were going to find a way. People kept talking about that Falcons collapse. They were talking about that and said, oh, it's happened before. I mean, the game was, the score was already past the 26 points in that game, but people were just thinking they're going to do it. They're going to come back. They're going to turn it on. They farted around in the first half. They're going to make their second half adjustments, and they're going to make this thing a ball game in the second half.
What shocked me more than anything, and you know what, Diesel, to your point, I think I believed it a little bit. I think I believed it. I thought he'd come. Patrick Mahomes at halftime last night had a 10.7 passer rating.
Ugh.
He was 6 of 14 for 33 yards, 2 interceptions. The worst I'd ever seen Patrick Mahomes play.
Well, there was just a visible amount of frustration on that sideline with Kansas City that I've never seen from that team before. I don't know who it was. There was a Kansas City player who his head down, and I think he was like in tears about how bad they were playing, how bad they looked. You could see multiple times just how frustrated Travis Kelce was getting, and you're not used to seeing that. They're used to being a dominant team, and I wonder, Cole, as much as they've done a phenomenal job, was it 17 in a row? Games that they have won, they've come back and scored in their final possession to win one-possession games. I don't know that they know what to do when they get down 21, 24
Doesn't happen much, right?
You know, it doesn't happen much to them. So it's kind of shell-shocked. They don't know what to do.
So
and that fourth quarter, you know, they found something, but I mean, it was garbage time. It didn't matter.
You brought up the conversation at your party about Mahomes turning it on. This is where I thought it would happen. To start the second quarter, Diesel, I believe it was the second play, Jalen Hurts throws an interception. Kansas City brought a blitz on that play. Jalen Hurts throws a pick. I said, okay, there you go. I said, that's it. I said, that's all they need. That's the momentum. That's all Kansas City needs to get this thing going. However, guess what? Field goal attempt by Philadelphia, a false start, 48-yard field goal. They go up 10-0. then Patrick Mahomes and the Eagles get the ball back, Diesel, and here's where I think the game was sealed right here. And I know this might sound crazy, but they're up 10-0. It's only 10 points. It's only 10 points. The next drive, back-to-back sacks by Philly. 3rd and 16, what happens? Back-to-back sacks. 3rd and 16, and you're down 10-0.
3rd and 16. Mahomes rolling out. Looking, firing, intercepted. Picked up by Cooper DeJean. Gets a block. DeJean is in. Touchdown.
I think that was it.
Yeah,
I think that was the game.
That was a nail in the coffin moment.
I think so.
Yeah.
Even though it was only 17-0, right? 17-0's not a deficit that's impossible to come back from.
But when you're talking about this season's Kansas City,
yeah,
that struggled to be dominant the way they had been in the past. They struggled to put up a lot of points. I mean, come on, they needed a game-winning drive field goal to beat the Panthers.
They did. You're right.
And I almost brought it up in that first segment of the show. This season's Kansas City team was just different. They were a weaker version of where they have been in the past. However, they were still able to use their experience, get to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And Chiefs fans for years will say it was a down season. We weren't quite as good as we had been. Well, if in your down seasons you're making it to the Super Bowl, you've had a really good year.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say before we run, again, JB said it on the YouTube stream. I said it in the very first segment of the show. When I close my eyes and I think of the 2 losses that Patrick Mahomes has in the Super Bowl, literally, Diesel, I envision him running for his life, not having protection. So Kansas City, look, as good as they are, as good as Patrick Mahomes is, man, they've got some major things to address in the offseason. Are they on the collapse of being 8-8? No. They're still going to be really, really good because they have Patrick Mahomes. But on the offensive line, when you talk about separating teams from good to great, you know what won Philly that game last night? Was the freaking line, their defensive line. What lost Kansas City the game? The offensive line. It shows that football is still won in the trenches, and Philadelphia won in the trenches last night.
I saw a meme earlier, Cole, that the Carolina Panthers are going to hang a banner inside Bank of America Stadium next year that says, "We almost beat the 2 teams in the Super Bowl."
You know what? They did. They took both of them to the wire, right?
Yes, they did. When we come back, Cole, I need the Tolos, who are a little more tied in to what was going on last night at the halftime show, to explain to me what all the fuss was about. Like, I keep hearing conflicting stories all over the place. What was it all about? There was some beefs. There was some references. Help me out. Call in 844-FAN-PHONE. Let's talk about it next on the Fan Upstate. You know, Cole, the only thing more confusing or confused than the constant look of the shades are open, but there's nobody inside on Gronk's eyes during his interview segments. Gronk didn't look like he knew where he was half the time. Was what was going on during the halftime show. Now, self-admitted, not a big Kendrick Lamar fan. Like I couldn't name you one single off the top of my head. Is that Humble? I think is one of his songs.
Humble's the only one I knew. Yeah,
that's the only song I know. I didn't know any of the other songs. I'm in a group of people, and 2 or 3 of them are like singing along with every word.
Yeah,
and certainly it helps if you know the artist well. You enjoy the halftime show even more. But I didn't know anything about Kendrick Lamar other than the fact that he had that one song Humble that before last night I couldn't have named Humble. Like I just know the beat. Everybody knows the beat to that song. I also know the fact that he had some sort of beef with Drake. Outside of that, I know nothing about this guy. So I need a Tolo who knows like hip hop culture. Explain to me what was going on, because apparently there was a tremendous amount of baked in symbolism in that halftime show. It was Samuel L. Jackson dressed up as Uncle Sam Jackson. There were the backup dancers who were dressed, and arranged as an American flag. Like I saw that and I thought, oh, cool, like a patriotic display there. Apparently that was not the case at all, and I was totally misreading that halftime show. So I need somebody to explain to me the hell was going on out there.
It's interesting. I'm in the same boat as you. That's not the type of music that I listen to. However, here's where I am on the Super Bowl halftime show from last night. I don't mind listening or watching a performance, Diesel, of music that I don't like. Yeah. I loved Usher. I loved it. It was, and here, listen to this.
It's called being an adult.
Yeah.
Being able to handle something that's not specifically catered to you.
I loved Usher. You know why I loved Usher, though? I was entertained.
I thought it was the abs.
What that? So the reason that I thought last night was absolutely horrible, Diesel, was not because of the music, okay? I didn't think last night's halftime show sucked because of the music. I don't mind rap music. I would, if it was entertaining, I'd be fine. The reason I thought it sucked was because I wasn't entertained. I didn't think it was highly entertaining. Is Kendrick Lamar fantastic at what he does? Sure. But from an overall standpoint of the halftime show being entertaining, I did not find it entertaining whatsoever.
So what I've seen was that this was an art production, that there were deep-seated references to, number one, his beef with Drake. There were references to oppression, the history of oppression in this country, economic and literal slavery in America. There was the lowercase a necklace that he was wearing. Like, I didn't understand any of that stuff. So it felt like it was all set up to be a whole series of inside jokes and inside references that if you didn't get, it just goes whoosh straight over your head. Yeah. And maybe that's the reason why so many people who watched it were just confused. Like, we're used to big, glitzy, glamorous halftime shows. I'm thinking how amazing that one in LA was, 2-3 years ago with Dr. Dre and Snoop and Eminem and 50 Cent and all that stuff. Great. And that was phenomenal. This was a much more low-key Super Bowl halftime show. To me, it kind of reminds me of The Weeknd, which was like 3 or 4 years ago, but pared down even smaller than that, and look, you don't have to go bigger and bigger and bigger every single halftime show, because eventually you'll hit a limit where it's like, how much bigger can this thing get? So you got to hit the reset button, bring it back to basics. And like, there's nothing wrong with having a halftime show that is relatively basic.
No, it's not.
So, look, people can get butthurt about it. And there's a lot of people who are butthurt about it on social media today. But yeah, like you said, you can watch something that's not meant specifically for you and still find some kind of enjoyment out of it instead of losing your mind on social media.
I just think that if I want to find enjoyment out of something that I'm not normally attracted to, it needs to be very entertaining, right? And I just didn't think like from an entertainment and to your point, not all of them have to be big, like this one was Snoop and Dr. That one was entertaining, right? It was a production. It was a show. Last night's being low key. I don't have anything against a low key performance, Diesel, but I wasn't entertained. I wasn't sitting there, smiling on the edge of my seat. I actually got up and went and did something else during halftime.
Texters now showing up with some information. Texters says, I can't tell you much, but there were 6 hidden messages. Serena Williams doing the Crip Walk is Drake's ex. There was also someone waving a Sudan flag. Okay. Cadillac says, I watched Sanford and Son during halftime.
Good move.
Texter says it wasn't an art production. It was a troll job. That's all the halftime show was, just trolling in pretty decent fashion. Is it trolling if the majority of people don't understand what's going on? Texter says it was a rap battle, but also he was ripping Drake for being a pedophile. Interesting. He said, hey, D, do you like him young? And the crowd said minor. That came from Michael. He says, another texter says, it was made for people that know Kendrick, bigger commentary on black culture and how they're told to express themselves. I thought it was a fine performance. I also say that because I've been eating up the beef between Kendrick and Drake. And another texter says, I didn't understand a word he said.
Yeah. I don't mind being introduced to music that's outside of what I normally listen to. But if you're gonna try to win me over with some of your music, at least make it entertaining. I was entertained last night.
What if next year it was a death metal halftime show?
If it was entertaining, I'd be okay.
Yeah, you'd be
if
introduced to something you don't normally listen to.
As long as it's entertaining. I don't want to fall asleep during the halftime show of the Super Bowl. It is time, Tolos, to overreact. There was so much that happened this past weekend in sports. It's your chance, our chance to overreact next. Eagles, we love when you overreact. We love when you say something that's outlandish. We love when you make yourself sound like an idiot. Well, now's your chance to overreact.
We do it all day, every
we
day.
do it for 4 hours a day. We invite you to overreact with us. What did you see over the weekend? Whether it was college basketball, Clemson beating Duke, South Carolina losing their 10th SEC game, Dawn Staley going down over the weekend, or the Super Bowl last night, or something that I maybe failed to mention. I think that was pretty much all of the sports that locals were interested in. I know the Daytona 500 is this Sunday, but what do you overreact to? What's your best overreaction? The phone lines, the text line, both open at 844-FAN-PHONE. That is 844-326-3663. Do us a favor and save that number in your phone, as the Fan Upstate makes it a lot easier on us. 844-FAN-PHONE. Diesel, a lot to overreact to. I want to start, however, with the South Carolina Gamecocks in Lamont Paris. You and I, throughout the course of the season, we've had conversations about the Gamecocks, the basketball team, where they go from here, what's wrong, what's not clicking. And my overreaction to start this segment on this Overreaction Monday is that Lamont Paris may not be as safe as he thinks he is. I just don't know that throughout the course of a season, if you don't see any improvement at all, what do you have to feel good about? For 3 years now, Lamont Paris Diesel has had the worst or next to last ranked offense in the SEC. That's not good for 3 straight years. And it's not 2010, Diesel. You don't have to wait 5, 6, 7 years on a recruiting cycle. You have NIL, you have portal. Was Ray Tanner not giving Lamont Paris the resources he needed? I don't know. But why are South Carolina fans just all in the same boat of, oh no, Lamont's safe, everything's fine? You are 0-10 in SEC play.
Yeah, I think in all reality, Cole, because they're not going to fire him after this season.
Yeah.
Lamont Paris should be the only person left in that locker room at the end of the year. It's like that final episode of Fresh Prince where Will walks into the big living room and he's just like looking around, it's empty. There's no one else here. That needs to be what happens with this franchise or with this program. They need to clean house with coaching staff. They basically need to clean house with players, start over, because what you've got isn't working, and you don't need any of that negativity coming back into the locker room next year, because it will follow you for a second year.
It will. So that's the worry, though, right? Like, if you're having to start over, Diesel, with a clean house next year, do we have much faith? Are you bringing in, LeBron James? Are you bringing in Austin Reeves? Who are you going to bring in year 4 to all of a sudden go from 0-10 to, let's call it, 6-4? It is tough. It is tough. And if you don't have those guys already in the program that are going to, bloom next season, I think Lamont Paris is in as difficult of a place next year as he is this year, because you don't have anything returning.
Yeah.
I know you got guys coming in, but still.
Makes you beg, where's the big deficiency in here? And his ability to get a new crop of guys to gel together. Think about it the same way that we thought about Mike Norvell and what he did at Florida State last year. It was exceptional what he was able to get. Well, I guess it'll be 2 years ago.
Yeah,
now.
2 seasons. Yeah.
2 seasons ago. What he was able to accomplish with a roster full of dudes who didn't know each other coming together and playing phenomenal football was great. Maybe that's what last year was for South Carolina basketball. You just found lightning in a bottle, and you're not going to be able to replicate it year in and year out. The problem is with the way college basketball is today, you have to be good at doing that. You have to be good at bringing in a bunch of dudes who have never played basketball together, teaching them very quickly how to adapt to each other's styles and get off to the NBA. Like, think about it this way, Cole. Remember that audio we had probably 4 months ago where Tom Brady was saying that they have to simplify offenses so much that when these guys get to the NFL, they're not ready.
Yeah.
I think we're also dealing with that in college basketball. You're simplifying offenses because you don't have guys who spend 2, 3, 4 years together and know where their other players are going to be and know that system like the back of their hand. They're having to simplify. You know, I'm sure they have a basic scheme, but it's the ones who are able to install a slightly more complex and more intricate offense. Those are the ones who are finding success. Everybody else, you see errant passes going somewhere, and the person who's supposed to receive the pass isn't even in the area.
JB on the YouTube stream says, true, Cole, Ray Tanner isn't the AD anymore, and I think the new AD wouldn't hesitate to pull the plug. Look, I don't think we're there yet, JB. I think the new AD is now in the mode of, hey, I've got to give you all the resources necessary so that this isn't on me. Because it may have been on Ray Tanner, right? But now the AD's in a position that when he answers the phone and they say, hey, why's your basketball team suck, Diesel? He has to say, well, I've done everything I can do. That's why I think Lamont will get 2 to 3 more years, because the new AD is going to give him the resources he needs. He's going to at least try. And I think that'll buy Lamont some time.
I don't think he even approaches 3. It's going to be hard to sniff 2. I think he's got one more. I think he's got one more. If next year is another bad year, I see this new athletic director pulling the plug. Jack Breeze on the stream says Florida winning it all.
Is that an overreaction today?
Maybe.
What
I don't know.
Wait. Basketball, football,
baseball.
I'm assuming basketball, right?
Yeah,
because
don't say football
because they had a big win. Florida's good. There's no doubt. Diesel, do you have an overreaction, or do you want to go to the text line?
I do have an overreaction, Cole. Mine is not football related. I spent my Saturday taking the dog out to different places, getting them worn out, trying to expose them to new places, new people, new things, Cole. And there's a big time problem of people thinking it's okay to take their dog out into public places and let them off leash. You can't let your dog off leash, people. You absolutely cannot let that happen unless you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, and you've spent probably hundreds of dollars on training, that your dog has perfect, rock-solid recall. Your dog's going to see another dog and be like, oh, my God, I want to go play. And he's going to go chase that dog. You got to cool it, man. Y'all got to put your dog on a leash. I don't care if it's a 20-foot leash. You let your dog have some extra space. That's fine. But you got to have a way to bring your dog back, Cole. That's how we have, problems. That's how we have dogs getting into fights out on trails. You got to put your dogs on a leash. I don't care if you think he's never done anything wrong. You never know what's going to happen in that split second.
Texter says South Carolina men's and women's basketball have their best 2 stars dating each other and only worried about NIL and money. Simple. This comes from the 772. Overreaction. There will never be a year where everyone loves the halftime show. I think that's true. Right? You're not going to please everyone ever. That's why, look, we live in the biggest country, and there are so many people, maybe not the biggest, but we live in this huge country, Diesel, where there's so many people to please. Are you kidding me? You're never going to please everybody.
Taylor Swift's like the biggest pop star in the world. They put the camera on her last night. Everybody starts booing. No, of course you're never going to please everyone. The question is, Cole, who do you want to please? Do you want to please football fans, or do you want to get a new demographic of people to tune in and watch the halftime show? And I keep trying to tell everybody, the halftime show, if you're a 30, 35, 40, 50, 60-year-old dude, halftime shows are not for you. And that's the problem, is you keep thinking they should be for you. The NFL is using it as a way to get your teenage daughters to tune in and watch, because your teenage daughters love pop stars. They love Miley Cyrus. They love Kendrick Lamar. They love Drake. Or whoever.
What is your overreaction, Tolos? Continue to send them in. 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Let's see. Making sure I'm caught up on the text line here. Zach was talking about on Facebook, by the way. He's talking about basketball. I don't know that Florida winning it all in basketball, Zach's that big of an overreaction. They're a very good team.
They're able to take down Auburn. Yeah, they're a good team. They could win it all.
We've got Rick and Greer. We've got Tom and Somerville. Two relatives on the show today. Rick and Greer's up first, though. What's up, Rick?
Okay, I'm going to follow with the theme that Diesel started. I went and adopted a dog, my first dog. I love dogs. I went and adopted him at the shelter. I got him. I've had him 2 weeks. I got him home. He had a little patch of skin that was dry. I said, "Boop, boop, boop. I'll take him to the vet."
You said what?
I took him to the vet.
Boop, boop, boop.
He needed some help. Okay, he was scratching himself to death. I didn't stay with him because I should have. Didn't stay with him. I came back $980 later.
Ooh.
I had to pay it all out.
Mm.
They did a CAT scan on the dog for dry skin. Come on, people.
How do you do a CAT scan on a dog? Wouldn't it be a dog scan?
I don't know, but they did one.
Rick, have you ever had a CAT scan?
Yes, I have it. You go through a tube.
Yeah. What were the results? What did they find out?
I didn't have a brain.
Oh boy,
If you only had a
we
brain.
knew that one, Rick. Appreciate it, man. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Was there more?
No, that's all right. It's just that's a little expensive for a dog visit.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You probably told them do what you got to do.
I don't know.
And they said cha-ching.
Yeah, I don't think that's too bad of an overreaction. I mean, being outraged by what was it, $900?
$900.
That's a lot of money, man.
That's crazy.
$100 vet bill. My God.
You know, the only solution to that is, don't have dogs, right? I mean, really, that it is.
Well,
pets are
The
expensive.
solution to that, and appreciate the phone call, Rick. The solution to that is pet insurance.
Oh yeah,
You got to get pet insurance. The crappy thing about pet insurance is that it doesn't work like yours and my health insurance, where you let the insurance pay for it and then they send you a bill for anything extra. It's the opposite way around. You pay for everything and then the insurance company reimburses you after the fact.
I don't like that.
And that gives them a chance. Like, you've already paid for everything, right? So then they get to go back and say, well, no, we don't pay for that. We don't pay for that. We don't pay for that. And all of a sudden they don't pay for anything. And you're on the hook for the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. JB on the YouTube stream says, my overreaction is the Lady Gamecocks don't make it out of the Sweet 16 this year. That is an overreaction. Let's see what Tom in Somerville has to say. Tom, it's Overreaction Monday, my friend. What is your overreaction today?
I'll say this. Diesel, that's a bold comment saying teenager might like Drake after everything I found out last night. But I'll say this. My overreaction, JB might be right. Dog Staley, I barely watch women's basketball just because on Sunday, me and the wife are out doing this, that, and the other, and they play mostly on Sundays. But they lost the game yesterday, and then she had the audacity to make sure she got to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, and then she's out, dancing around at a bar thinking, she's all that, and, Don, you lost the game, okay? I don't care that you're an Eagles fan. The team you're responsible for lost. And to me, that's pretty embarrassing to go around after losing, hooping and hollering in a night bar. It doesn't sit right with me. Okay?
Why?
Because the team she's responsible for lost.
Maybe she was real uptight, and that's the reason why they lost, and she needed to blow off a little steam.
Well,
she was nervous.
I don't know what she's got to blow out, but they got to figure this out because JB might be right. This team, they're just not as dominant as they've been in the past. And I'll be honest, 2 losses in 1 year, that's a lot.
How dare they? How dare the nerve on this team. So are you calling it, Tom, are you calling it right now the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks will not win the national championship?
Yeah, I don't think they will. I think UCLA is just that good.
Yeah, I think so
but, my wife, she loves the Lady Gamecocks. And that might have been the most matter I've ever. She was more mad at Don Staley yesterday I think, than she's ever been mad at me. And that's saying something.
Tom, I'll disagree with you, Tom. Look, did her team win? No, they didn't win on Sunday. They played a good Texas team, but just because they don't win a game on Sunday shouldn't make Dawn Staley. I mean, what do you want her to do? Handcuff herself to her sofa and sit at home miserable and cry and not celebrate an Eagle? Has your team ever won a Super Bowl, Tom? I mean, that is huge, man.
Well, I get it. I mean, they did win 57 in a row in conference. They should have just kept winning. It's hard to complain when they've won that much. I will say that, but I don't know. It just didn't sit right with me yesterday, and I guess that was my overreaction.
So,
I mean, other than the Super Bowl just being awful, the game itself was awful.
Tom, I don't know that we've ever asked this question of you. It might be too personal. You might not want to answer. What is it that you do for a living?
Well, I got to be careful.
It's okay if it's okay if you want to simplify it and just give me a real vague, like the industry that you work in.
So I do. I know you take a lot of shots at us, Diesel, but I do work in the insurance business.
Okay. Okay. So here's a question for you, Tom. If you have a bad week, I'm just going to pretend for a moment that you sell insurance. If you have a bad week selling insurance and you have a day off, do you sit at home thinking about ways that you can be a better insurance salesman, or you go play a round of golf, you go fishing, you do anything to get your mind off of it so that on Monday when you come back into work, you're fresh and ready to go?
Yeah, I do.
Well, there you go. Now you're begrudging Dawn Staley a chance to just blow off some steam.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's right.
Tom just doesn't like to lose.
I understand.
Is what it all boils down to, right?
Yeah, losing is the absolute worst. Okay, there's nothing, and as far as hobbies go, and things that outside of real life things, losing sucks.
It sucks,
and there's no other way to ruin your week going in on a Monday than a loss.
I'm with you, Tom. I'm with you.
But anyway,
thanks for the call, Tom. Tom in Somerville, Overreaction Monday, 844-326-3663. Corn Chip says, my kid's dentist wants almost $2,000 total to fix her baby teeth that will be gone in a few years. Well, if they're going to be gone in a few years, Corn Chip, what are we doing here? If they're going, unless they're in pain, right?
unless they're in pain, or you're setting up the next teeth to give them. Have you ever seen the like an X-ray of a baby's skull and like how their teeth
Not
are?
lately, no.
It is weird, dude. I'm gonna tell you, every single Tolo, Google what an X-ray of a child's like teeth structure looks like in their mouth. It's terrifying.
How do we get on?
They're like all up in there. It's strange.
Have you had your wisdom teeth removed?
Yeah.
How many did you have?
How many do you have?
Well,
4?
yeah. I mean, if you're really smart, I think you can have 5, but 4 for the most part.
Gronk had 1
for the most part. Yeah, I think that was the worst. I don't know how we got on the teeth. So, it was the insurance. It was with the insurance and the dog. Yeah, I mean, look, Dewey says Dawn Staley should be fired too on the text line. That's definitely an overreact. I mean, look, seriously, that's where we are. That's what Tom in Somerville said. I mean, you have 2 losses in one season. Fire the coach, get rid of everybody. I mean, clean house. It's unacceptable. But yet the men's team, they're 0-10. But and hey, Lamont Paris, give them another year, right? Your women's coach has lost 2 games, and oh my goodness. It's interesting. Is Dawn Staley's team as dominant as they have been in the past? No. But to Tom's point, I do think that UCLA is probably the class of NCAA women's basketball this year. It's going to be hard to beat them. We'll see, though, man. You never know. Like, experience says a lot. And when March comes around, you let South Carolina get hot. I'll tell you what I won't do. I will not count out Dawn Staley as long as she's the coach. So we'll see.
On the other side of the break, Cole, when we come back, let's take a look at this. You and I played a game last week. We're going to play it again. A game called Guess the Price, Facebook Marketplace Sports Memorabilia Edition. That's next on the Fan Upstate. Tolos, you're already toloing. You might as well score some free, awesome prizes just for doing what you're already doing. The contest is called Slam Dunk in Vegas, and it's very, very simple. Just download the free Odyssey app. A lot of you already have it. Create an account if you haven't already. Log in and listen to the Fan Upstate. That's it. That's all we ask for you to do.
It's got to be more.
You listen for an hour a day to enter it. It doesn't even have to be an hour straight. It can be like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. It couldn't be any easier to win prizes than to just listen to the Fan Upstate, which you're already doing. So what we're hooking you up with is one lucky winner is going to score a round trip airfare and accommodations for 4 in Las Vegas plus $20,000. True or false? That is a lot of money.
True to most people, but false to a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I can't speak to them, but hey, even they would still like to have $20,000.
Yeah,
everybody would like to have $20,000, and you could have $20,000 if you're the lucky winner. You get to go there and enjoy the first 2 rounds of the college basketball championships. You'll stay at the Circa Resort and Casino, a beautiful casino there in Las Vegas. It's a premium sports viewing destination, and you'll get in to the biggest March hoops party at Stadium Swim, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is a amphitheater swimming pool that has a gigantic television in it. Of course, drinks will be flowing. The beautiful babies will be everywhere. You're going to have yourself a great time. Good luck in this national contest. Again, all you have to do is sign in and listen to the Fan Upstate on your smartphone. Super simple. Cole, you had a brilliant idea last week, as you and I both know that things start to slow down a little bit. Hey, I'll give you credit for it when you have one. We're starting to slow down just a little bit. Football season is done, and most of the Tolos don't really start caring about college basketball until the NCAA tournament happens. So you had the idea, Cole, to do a little Facebook Marketplace challenge, right? Just find a couple items on Facebook Marketplace, see if we can guess what people are asking for them. Well, and I was like, what if we do this specifically for sports? I mean, this is a sports radio station after all. Let's see if we can stump each other with what people are asking for their sports items on Facebook Marketplace. Are you ready to play the game?
Yes, I am ready. I am terrible at guessing dollar figures.
Yeah,
was like Price is Right.
But it's like you got to do 2 things. You gotta guess what something might be worth.
Yeah, but
you also have to try to guess what somebody might be asking for it, because you've been on Facebook Marketplace before. You've seen somebody list something for like $500 that you know is only worth like $350. But then they'll also say, like, no low ball offers. I know what I've got.
Have you seen the videos where the guy will call and prank somebody, like, for example, a Facebook Marketplace listing, and, he'll try to really rip them off, but act serious about it. And the guy, the seller just gets ticked off.
I just hang up the phone.
But some people don't. They feed into it, man. they love it.
Tolos, we'd love for you to jump in and play the game as well. You can call in 844-326-3663, and we'll ask you the same questions and see if you're smarter than Cole or smarter than me when it comes to picking these prices. Cole, do you want to go first, or would you like me to go
first? Because I want to make sure I don't have the same item. I did do them from a different area.
Yes,
that you did.
Yes,
so,
you searched from the Boiling Springs area. I searched from Greenville.
Yeah, you go first.
And so I was hoping that we might see a different subset of items.
So you go, I'll guess.
Yes, yes. All right, here is item number 1 for you, Cole.
Okay.
This item is a 1940 Ford Coupe race car. It's a 1940 Ford Coupe race car. Think of like rounded over fenders, beautiful old car, 10,000 miles on the clock, 3-speed automatic transmission, 390 cubic inch V8 engine, nice looking paint job on the outside, white exterior.
God.
It's got a roll cage, a racing seat, and like a red wing kind of paint job down the side with the car's number inside that red wing.
And this is not a toy car.
This is not a toy car. This is a real car.
Oh, boy.
The video that they attached shows the vehicle running. It sounds to be in good mechanical shape. 10,000
Why
miles.
that's what I don't understand. That's where I'm stumped.
Maybe they put a
10,000
brand new
miles?
maybe they put a brand new engine in the car.
And that
So
would
it's
make
10,000 miles on the engine.
if they put a new engine that only had 10K, that would make it worth a lot.
One would think.
And the year is what?
1940. So it's an awesome car. It kind of looks like a
I'm going to be so
it's
bad
like a
at this.
Legends car, right? When you see Legends cars being raced.
Okay, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to work you
it's
down.
a full size coupe.
Yes or no? I'm going to tell me if I'm wrong here. I'm going to say it is under 20 grand.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to work my way down. I am Diesel going to say it's more than 10 grand.
You'd be wrong.
Eh.
Yeah, I don't have the sound effects
It's
over here.
okay.
You have them on your side.
Yeah. You know what? If that's the case, I'm going to say 7,800.
Wow. It is $7,500.
Wow.
$7,500. Think about that, Tolos. Search for this car. It's a 1940 Ford Coupe race car
I'm going
for
to look at it now.
$7,500. It's a beautiful car.
$7,500. That is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again,
You're like, I kind of want it now, don't
old
you?
cars, but they're tricky, man.
Yeah.
It's just tricky when
Kind
you
of like a woman, you know?
but you're buying something that old.
Well,
I mean,
point still stands.
Okay, you ready for?
Yeah.
Are you going all three and then?
I've got 4.
Okay.
But you go.
You go next?
Yeah, you go next.
I'm hoping we don't have the same, but if we do, tell me. I'll choose
That's
another one. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my heart first. Okay. My heart Diesel. You ready for my heart here?
Mhm.
As I have a little Clemson memorabilia for you. Okay.
Oh.
This is a signed Clemson poster and baseball.
Okay.
And this one's Spartanburg area.
Poster and baseball.
Yep. It does not say in the description who it's signed by, but it does have the IPTE, and it does look like it Rick Barry or something. Rick Barnes. Rick Barnes signed the poster, and then the baseball I can't tell.
So is a basketball poster
It's just a paw, just an orange paw.
just a tiger paw
Yeah. And you
signed
would
by Rick
think-
Barnes
yeah,
and a baseball.
I'm not going to give you like a big hint, but this one's not anywhere close to what you.
That's okay. The ones that I picked have a wide range.
Yeah. So this one
of
again,
value.
Rick Barnes signed Clemson paw in a poster frame and a signed baseball to go along with it.
Okay, I'm gonna bet that this. You're right. This is not worth a lot of money. I'm gonna say it's less than $100.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna guess that this item, a signed tiger paw autographed by Rick Barnes, that most Clemson fans probably don't even remember him anymore.
Yeah. It's been a long.
I'm gonna
been a
say
long
that this
time.
thing is worth $17.
$15. You're dead.
Wow.
Dead on.
Wow.
Almost dead on. Very well done. Very well done.
Feel good about that?
You do. You
I
did
feel good.
You and I both did.
How
Can
about that?
we quit? Can we?
Yeah, let's stop right here. It's not going to get any better than this.
Coming up next.
Okay, here's another one. Since you went Clemson memorabilia, I'm also going to go Clemson memorabilia.
Okay.
This is an autographed Taj Boyd jersey that is framed in a nice wood frame. The frame has like little 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch tiger paws embossed all the way around the frame. There are what look like 2 little playing cards, might be small photos, but they look like playing cards mounted inside the frame with the jersey. Taj Boyd autographed jersey. He wrote, the transcription reads Taj Boyd 10 all in. It doesn't appear to be a game-worn jersey. It looks more like a practice jersey
Not gonna
type,
be
like a little
much.
bigger.
Yeah. I'm going to guess 45.
You'd be real low.
You're kidding me.
We're talking the list price here. You're way off.
This idiot thinks they're going to sell it for more than $45. Oh my God!
Uh-huh.
Don't tell me over.
The frame is worth $45. The frame job,
but Taj Boyd's signature's not worth anything. He couldn't beat Carolina.
Clemson fans look at Taj Boyd as the arbiter of their modern
not
run.
Not me.
Wow,
beat South
no
Carolina.
love for Taj.
I love the guy.
I know Taj personally. I'm gonna call him and tell him this.
I do too. And I've actually
I do too, and I'll tell him to his face.
I've actually, I don't want to go there. I'll just say this. I don't like quarterbacks that can't beat your rival.
Oh.
Now, end of story. God, more than 40, 110.
Gotta keep going, buddy.
Oh my God.
You gotta keep going.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
215. Don't say keep going up.
Up.
Oh my God.
Climb that ladder.
I'm gonna go with John Dog. John Dog texts the show and says 250.
You're still way short.
This idiot. Who is this?
Do you want to know the answer? Since you're,
I'm gonna guess one more, and then I'll $410.
$450.
What an
list
idiot.
price.
What a moron.
Somebody will buy it, but not for $450.
Somebody's gonna buy a Taj Boyd signed jersey.
Maybe if you want to complete the set, right? Like you got a Woodrow Dantzler, you got a Taj Boyd.
I'm sorry, Taj.
A Deshaun.
I'm sorry.
You know, you got to take a black light to the Deshaun jersey just to make sure.
Kane's mad at me on the stream. I'm sorry.
Come on, Kane. Be realistic here.
I don't like. Look, you got to beat your rival for me. That's how you become. And I know 4th and 16. I was at the game. I was there in person against LSU in Atlanta, New Year's Day. I get it, but you can't beat your rival. All right, my turn. You ready?
Yep.
This is a North Carolina Tar Heels team-signed basketball.
Ooh.
Autographed multiple years, okay?
Okay.
This is from an alumni of North Carolina.
Seems like a nice thing.
Yeah, it's very nice looking. It's guaranteed to pass PSA, DNA, or any other autograph authentication service.
Okay. Does it have like the white panels that you can write on?
White with a blue UNC logo.
Okay.
From 2017, 2007, 10, 9, 6, many years. And it has the blue logo that says 2017, 18, and then above it on the next panel is the black Nike. It actually, I'm not kidding, it actually is really, really nice.
Is it in a case or is it just
it's on a little pedestal. It looked great right there. Wonder if Honesty will buy it for our studio.
2017, 2018 North Carolina basketball. Refresh my memory. Were they winning any titles at the time?
Yeah, these were some title teams.
Okay. I'm going to guess and say this True Blue SOB is asking $350 for the ball.
Higher.
$600.
Lower.
$500.
Bingo. So I wonder what is that accurate though? I don't know.
Good luck.
You don't think they'll sell it for that?
No.
500.
No, I mean, I take that back. You know what? They probably will, because North Carolina fans, more than any other fan base I know of, love the smell of their own farts.
But I'll tell you this.
And they will deck out that kind of money to get that.
If you've got it, right? I mean, I will say it's very nice. I mean, really, it is. I don't know that it's worth 500, but it is nice.
Okay, Cole, you're next up on our game show for Guess the Price, Facebook Marketplace, Sports Memorabilia. This one, Cole, is right up your alley.
Oh,
okay. It's right up your alley.
Always. Okay, go ahead.
This is there's no dimensions listed here, but this is a large, roughly 18 by 24 inch poster sized Abbeville Panthers 1981 state championship lithograph celebrating their 81 Class 2A state title. On the lithograph, it depicts multiple players, the coach, a cheerleader, a referee, and the final score. It is numbered number 7 of 600, and it's autographed by someone, though it's impossible to tell who it is that autographed it. And it's down in not on the lithograph itself, it's on the matting, and it doesn't say in the description who autographed it.
I'd like to have it because Abbeville is a powerhouse. Jamie Nichols has turned it. That's a printing, right? A lithograph is
Yes.
a printing.
It's a printing.
And then they've signed autographs on top of it, is what you're saying?
No, it's just
Oh,
one
one
autograph
autograph.
in the bottom corner. Like I said, the autograph is on the matting, not on the
Okay.
poster itself. It's on the matting. It's numbered.
That's cool.
and
That's
it's,
really
and
cool,
it's signed.
man.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be much. I'm going, oh, I like that. I like that.
It's a rare item.
It is rare. It's
Rare.
cool. I mean, look, I love high school football.
You take it to
especially-
Antiques Roadshow.
I like that. I'm so lost on this. I'll tell you, this was hard.
It is a
This
hard
was
one.
hard.
It's like, what kind of market is there for an 81 state championship celebratory poster?
Let's see what the Tolos say at 844. I'm going to say 175.
You're not that far off.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. You're a little low. You're not far off, though.
John Dog said $50.
Oh, come on, John Dog.
200,
You're still a little short.
210,
250.
250.
250. It's not bad. I mean, it's a beautiful item. It's
You
a
have picture of
cool. Well, no,
Not
I
on your
took a
computer.
photo
It's
of
okay.
the description. But I will
Wow.
find it for you. Cadillac says, I've got a Perry Brothers autographed on-field Clemson baseball cap
Oh, wow.
that I wouldn't sell you for your firstborn.
Well, a lot of people, that stuff. I mean,
That's fair.
look,
very
if
fair.
it means a lot to you, never sell it. I mean, some people, I like that, though. We'll have to continue that.
I got one final one for you, Cole. This will be really quick.
Okay.
A Carolina Panthers Sportula. It's a spatula with the Carolina Panthers logo laser cut out of the flat part of the spatula. It's got the word Sportula etched into the wooden handle, and it's got a beer bottle opener on top.
Oh, it's Panthers, you said?
Yeah.
So they will pay you $50, right? Is that how it works? No? Is that wrong?
This one currently listed for $9.25.
I mean, it costs $9 to make the freaking Facebook ad, doesn't it? Good gosh. Daily Wire's next. Are you ready for the top headlines in sports? Wouldn't it be great if we did all the headlines together in one segment? We do. It's the Daily Wires right here on the Fan Upstate. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Overreaction Monday. In New Orleans, Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, he earned Super Bowl MVP for the first time in his career after leading the Eagles to a 40-22 win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Diesel, kind of a no-brainer to give him the MVP last night, right?
Well-deserved.
Well-deserved for Jalen Hurts. 3, Clemson Tigers won a Super Bowl yesterday. How about that? Will Shipley, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and KJ Henry all earned their first Super Bowl rings. That's awesome. Really cool.
Love to see it. Congratulations to them.
Dallas Mavericks star power forward / center Anthony Davis is expected to sit out multiple weeks because of a left abductor strain. Sources told ESPN things not off to a great start after that trade. So we'll see how Dallas how they feel. They lost their superstar. They get AD, and he's out with an injury.
Do you think those are disgruntled pains?
Oh my gosh, they're livid. And
I'm not happy about being here, man. So all of a sudden,
it's a tough time for Dallas fans right now. Football
sucks.
Basketball
sucks.
It's like, come on. And basketball is they're good, but now they're losing their star and their superstar. So we'll see. At least they have the stars. The hockey team's really good. The New York Jets' Aaron Rodgers marriage appears to be ending, Diesel, after 2 disappointing seasons. As the future Hall of Fame quarterback is unlikely to remain with the team, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. Surprise there?
I'm surprised that you weren't saying that he got married, didn't tell anyone, and that marriage is already falling apart.
Ooh.
That's what I thought you meant when you said the Jets' Aaron Rodgers marriage is falling apart.
That's bad, but funny. The number 4 Longhorns, Diesel, yesterday, the women, they made the most of their nationally televised game because they snapped a streak yesterday, 57-game winning streak of the South Carolina Gamecocks in conference play comes to an end. 66-62. What do they say? All streaks, they come to an end. They die. South Carolina loses their second game of the season. Fired on, get rid of it, clean house.
The sky is falling.
Yeah, the sky is falling because South Carolina's lost their second game of the season, according to some out there. But tough loss.
They've lost more games this season than the men have won in conference play all year.
That's true. Wesley asks, are you guys staying up to see Luka's debut tonight? Yeah, I am going to. I don't know how long that'll last, but we'll see. Speaking of the Lakers, Diesel,
I got money on this one, Wesley. I'll be watching.
Listen to this craziness. The Lakers rescind the trade for Mark Williams due to multiple issues with Hornets big man, his physical, per report. So Dalton Connect to Charlotte and Mark Williams to L.A. It was reported as a done deal. Guess what? What did he say? Not so fast. Mark Williams staying in Charlotte.
Wow. We had a guest on last week talking about that. It was it Michael Duarte we were asking about this?
No, it was our NBA insider.
Yeah, and he was really excited about getting Mark Williams to LA. Thought, hey, another big man is gonna make some important strides for this LA team. And if you're a Charlotte Hornet fan, you got to feel pretty good about getting him back.
Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore is expected to become the New Orleans Saints head coach, barring any unexpected developments, league sources told ESPN. And one more for you, Diesel. We mentioned Mike Houston going to Clemson with Tom Allen in our interview with Will Vandervort that we'll have for you in a few minutes. But for the second time in 3 years, wide receiver Deebo Samuel requesting a trade out of San Francisco. Will he get it? That's the question. But Deebo Samuel not happy in San Francisco, obviously, the former Chapman Panther from right here in the upstate.
At what point do you just let him go? Like, he doesn't want to be there, get some value for him. I mean, I'm sure he's still playing well, but I mean, come on, just let him go.
He still has value that somebody could, they could get some money for. They could get something for him, I think. But those are the Daily Wires.
When we come back, Cole, if you missed it earlier, we had a fantastic conversation with Will Vandervort of the Clemson Insider, breaking down the Duke win over the weekend, their quick turnaround as they face the North Carolina Tar Heels tonight. A little bit of football, a little bit of baseball conversation as well. We'll bring that back to you next. You know what impressed me most, Cole, about Cooper Flagg on Saturday, even in the loss, when his lip got busted open, he started playing that much harder. It's like he saw his own
Taste of blood.
and he turned on a switch, man.
I thought you were going to say that he could do a split when he slipped.
Well, he didn't do a split.
I know. He could have.
Honestly,
bad, man.
When I watched it live in person and his feet slid out from under him and he went down like wham, like you just dropped a 2x4 and it fell. I thought his head bounced off the floor. And I was like, that dude's going to be concussed and he's going to be screwed for a couple of nights.
He's so tall, though. It's just like, what is he, 6'7"? I mean, what? I mean, it's just he's unfreakishly abnormal in a way that he can be that big, but be as skilled as he is. And
he almost went down again a couple of plays after that. Yeah. He slipped and fell. It's ironic, Cole, that Clemson effectively lost the Georgia Tech game on a slip and fall and losing the ball. And then they were able to beat Duke on a slip and fall turnover.
Hey,
ice the game.
I know we have Will Vandervort coming up in like 4 minutes, but did you like the new score ticker at the bottom last night?
You could see through it?
The transparent?
Yeah, it was really odd to me at first. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, cool.
I liked it.
They're changing things up.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It just popped up on the screen right here in our studio, and I saw it, and it was, conversation last night. It's like, oh, you like the new score?
Well, I mean, think about it this way. Like back in the day, it used to be up in the corner of the screen.
Yeah.
And if they were throwing to the wide receiver on the far side of the field, very often the graphic would block what was going on.
I like it. I really do. I like it a lot. I thought it was very modern.
Do you think it's going to look dated though? Like, think about it this way. When you watch highlights of games from, let's just call it like 2007. Let's go back to the Texas versus Southern Cal Rose Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Those games look so dated
now.
now.
My gosh.
It looks like this is footage shot in the 50s.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yesterday afternoon after the South Carolina game, I watched
I can hear you okay. I can still hear the background.
On YouTube. I watched the fourth quarter of Tom Brady versus the St. Louis Rams and Tom Brady's first ever Super Bowl, like 2002 or 2004. It looked like I was watching something from the 80s.
Terrible, right?
Oh, my gosh, it was terrible.
It's terrible. I'm sure back then they were probably working on fully digital cameras, and digital cameras were brand new, and the technology wasn't.
No. Yes. No feedback, no echo.